Hi friends, it's Belinda here from BMakingJoy. Welcome to episode 54 of What Brings Me Joy, a mostly knitting podcast from my home here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And this is where I share my knitting progress with you to hold me accountable for the things that I cast on, keep track of what I'm working on, and sometimes you get sneak peeks at the things that I'm designing. I'm recording this episode on Monday, May 26, 2025. And in this episode, I don't have any finished objects this time around, but I do have significant progress on 2 projects, and I've started a new project. I also have a bit of sewing that I'd like to share with you, but it's not the t-shirt quilt. I made some adjustments on a garment that I'm very pleased with. So before we get started, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, I'm so glad to have you back. Thank you so much. I'm going to kind of glaze over the life update portion and phase it into other parts of the podcast because what I'm knitting on fluctuates according to what's going on in life. So I'll just talk about it as I talk about my knitting. But I will show you my injury because I'm sure you'll notice it at some point as I wave my hands around. That is from a metal lawn ornament. This weekend was my youngest daughter's birthday, so the sisters came into town. That's what they call themselves, they're sisters, and got together for her birthday. And the middle daughter always brings her cat when she comes to visit, and we were outside Saturday, such a beautiful day. We had the cats out on the leash, both of them. We just let them trail the yard, explore the yard with the leash trailing behind them so that we can catch them if they decide to wander out of the yard. But my daughter's cat got her leash caught in a metal long ornament, a horse. It was a flat on a stand and stands up flat. So it had lots of jagged edges and the cat was caught in it. And as I was trying to free her, she tried to run away and the metal ripped through my hand and at some point also across my toe. And it's looking much better than it did at the time. Maybe you're tired of seeing it. I'll stop showing you. But it's slowed down my knitting a bit. It's quite itchy. It hurts a little when I pick something up with it. I was worried about maybe an infection, but my doctor's pretty good at making me keep my shots up to date. So I'm pretty sure I had the tetanus shot like 2 years ago. So yeah, it's looking fine now. It was horrible Saturday and Sunday. Okay, let me start with the WIP I've been spending most of my time on is the Wilfreda Sweater. And last episode I did tell you that my work would probably slow down as it got warmer because it is thick and heavy. But it hasn't gotten warmer until just the last few days. And also I remembered that the knit along that I chose this project for ends on June 30th. So I got to working on it some more. I paused on the body partway through because I'm concerned I might be running out of the dark blue yarn, and I put both sleeves on a long circular cord so I could knit them 2 at a time so that I can make sure they're exactly the same. I did have to frog at one point. I got down to the elbows and then realized it's not going to work according to pattern because the fabric I'm getting with holding these 2 yarns together is more of a chunky weight. And so there's not enough drape for the intended effect on the sleeve. The intended pattern is to knit straight and then rapidly decrease at the cuff to have a blousey effect, but there's no drape in this fabric. So I was down to the elbows and then I frogged back, and I'll put some pictures in for you. And then I worked out that how to taper it instead. And there's exactly 1 skein of that dark blue yarn in each sleeve. So then I switched to the black as I ran out, and I'm glad I did them 2 at a time because 1 skein ran out a couple of yards ahead of the other skein. So I was able to change to the black at exactly the right spot by doing them at the same time. Now I'm going to let's see. I have been trying it on now and again, but with these sleeves attached on the same needle, I couldn't really move around a whole lot. Now I'm going to put the one sleeve on a holder so that I can try it on and move my arms about and make sure exactly how long it is. Figure out how much more I want to do in knitting the black before I switch to a cuff. And I think the cuff is a twisted rib. I have to go check the pattern. And I forgot to mention what pattern this is. This is the Wilfreda Sweater by Wench Rolled. But like I said, I'm not using the recommended yarn. It's recommended for a mohair and a fingering weight. But I went stash diving. Wanted to clear out some of this old stuff. And I've got a mohair that's from decades ago. And I did show you this last episode, but well, this one doesn't have a price tag on it, but the one I showed you last time had a price tag on it from Wilco, which is an old department store that's been gone since I was a kid. And pairing it with Merit, a Fintex, which, I mean, the price tag on this is 99 cents. This is an acrylic worsted weight, I believe, but they weren't really very well labeled back in the day. Yep, this has a 4 on it. It's a worsted weight. And the mohair, I have no idea what weight it is classed as, but it is blended with an acrylic. 60. What? I always pretend I can read without my glasses. I can't. 60% acrylic, 20% mohair, and 20% wool. So I probably could have used this one just all by itself in the sweater. Would have been more the intended effect, but I was worried about the itch factor. But I have 5 more skeins of this left. I can make another entire sweater with it. But this is the last skein I have left of this one, which is why I paused on the body and went to doing the sleeves instead, so I can do some yarn management. So I was saying there's 1 entire skein of the Merit in each sleeve. So now, and this hanging from the back here is the rest of that mohair. I tucked it into a little footy sock nylon and pinned it. There, a bit of this. And I've got some of this left over from each sleeve. I'm not going to get into those 5 skeins in the trunk for sure. Yeah, let me go and put these on stitch holders, try it on, and I will make a video for you for that. Okay, here we are. You can see I went oversized because I knew how bulky the material was going to be, so I went so it could be an outside garment over my clothes. My sleeves, I think I need another 4 inches in the sleeve to make comfortable space for moving around. The pattern calls for 1.5 inches of cuff, but what I think I'll do is 2 inches of knitting, stockinette, and then 2 inches of the cuff. Yeah, that's the plan now. And then we'll go back to the body, see how far we get with this combo down the body, and then switch to the black. And, you know, at that point, try it on again and decide how much further I want to go with that. So with the black, I'm not adding mohair to this part because I didn't want the mohair in my collar or, you know, when I touch my face. This is an unknown skein of yarn that was also in the same bundle when my friend gave me these. I'm going to assume it's acrylic. Doesn't matter for my purposes. So there, I think that's all there is to say about that. It is quite oversized. But yeah, I'm glad I decided to taper the sleeves, because even that, they're still oversized. My math worked. So that was a lot of TV knitting while we had some kind of chilly, rainy weather. And on the spots where I needed to do some thinking, I pulled out these again. This is my glow knee socks pattern that I released in April. My leg is just 2x2 ribbing with some increases at the calf. I've just finished the increases that Ilana needs. I'm ready to carry on with just knit, round and around. I'm doing them 2 at a time on the same needle, working from each end of the string. It's getting messy rolling around in my bag. It's also starting to fall apart on the other end, coming out the middle. That's all right. It rolls around in the bag, and I don't worry too much about the tangling until it's too tangled. And then I just untwist, twist until it's all untwisted again. So these are for Ilana, my youngest daughter. I started them with the red Peyton's Croix. Red is Ilana's favorite color next to black. It's Peyton's is a heavy fingering weight, 75% wool, 75% wool, 25% nylon. And when the feet were done, I got her to choose the yarn from my stash for the legs. This is the color of the month from May from Ancient Arts Yarns, called Masquerade. And I think I was an inch or so into it when I last showed you these socks last episode. So I've come quite far. I'll keep going until we run out of this skein, and that'll take it just above her knees, and then we'll make a cuff back in this red. Yeah, the colorful yarn is Sock NATO from Ancient Arts Yarns. It's an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So they're very similar in thickness, the two yarns. It's working together quite well. Now, the new pattern I've cast on is another Tracie Cardie. That is the pattern that's on the mannequin there. That's my original. And the tech editing process is complete, and the test knit is underway. And there are still spaces for you to join if you're a fast knitter. The deadline is tentatively set for the end of June. I hope to have the pattern released early in July, and that will allow the customers to knit a cardigan during the summer, have it for the late summer evenings and the early fall evenings, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, have it ready for the spring. So I've cast on another one, and I'm sorry, Mom, I know I'm going to make you cry, but this one is for you. For any new viewers, I've designed this cardigan in memory of my sister, who we lost 2 years ago. 2 years ago this week, actually. And I have been tossing this design idea around ever since that. And that summer when I found this yarn at Blackbird Needleworks in Leduc, Alberta, just south of Edmonton, I immediately knew that this yarn was for my mom's sweater. So they had a Bird of the Month club, and this one is the red-winged blackbird. And it's special to my mother because the week of my sister's funeral, one showed up and was hanging around. And even still, she often finds one following her when she's out on her walks. So it has a special connection to her, to my sister, and I want to honor that for her. So it's a top-down cardigan. So that's the back. I personally think this yarn has too much yellow in it and not enough black. But Ilana pointed out that once I do the sleeves and the body in a black, that should balance it out nicely. This yarn is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, which is a thinner combination than my original sweater. So I had to go up a needle size in order to get gauge. And that it will be a lighter fabric, but I'm very happy with it. Speaking of needles, I had to go on a wild goose chase looking for my 4.5 millimeter Chiagu needles. They were not in any of my needle cases, and I was racking my brain, couldn't figure out where they could be. I thought I'd been keeping track of my project. I began to worry that maybe there's another one somewhere that I've forgotten about. I searched everywhere that I could think of where I might have left a project. I looked under all the furniture and through all the cracks. I had my neck lamp looking everywhere and couldn't find it. I mentioned it at Knit Group, and someone said that they once found a missing needle inside a project bag. The Chiagus are so light, not the Chiagu, Chiagus are so light that they would just kind of curve themselves into the crack of the bag and you wouldn't notice they were in it. So I cleaned out my drawer full of project bags and went through every one of them with a fine-tooth comb. It wasn't there. And then I was sitting here almost on the verge of tears and just kind of looking around thinking. And then I saw them over there on the shelf over there. Just on the top of the bookshelf in a skein of yarn with the Patty Lyons books. I had forgotten that I had started the Patty Lyons Knitting Bag of Tricks knit along back in January. And then when I went to Florida to help my parents, I wasn't going to take books with me. So I put it on the shelf and forgot about it. So I found those needles. But in the meanwhile, I started with these ones. This is a set of Smart Sticks that I won in a Instagram contest a couple of years ago. The prize was provided by Jimmy Bean's Wool. And it's neat that it's marked in inches so that I could measure my project as I go. But the markings on the cord, I can't seem to see anymore. I think they're fading. Anyway, where was I going with that? I haven't bought the black yarn to go with it yet. I couldn't find anything on Blackbird's website. There is a fiber festival coming up in Olds, which is a small town just north of Calgary, June 14th. So I will be on the lookout for black yarn when I go there. It'll be okay if it doesn't exactly match. This black is kind of tonal. It's not a solid deep black. So I should be able to find a match if I can find black yarn at all. Because black hand-dyed yarn or black fingering weight yarn is hard to find. But I could order a commercial fingering weight yarn if I can't find any at the festival. Is there anything else that I wanted to share about this? I did mention a lot of details in the last podcast about my pattern. But can you see there's the hearts? They will be upside down on the finished project. And they might be a little harder to see in the darker yarn, but that's okay. Because maybe you want to keep that upside down hearts special secret just for you to remember why it's there. Okay, that's all the knitting I've done. So this is the part where I update my WIP count officially. So I had 9 projects on the needles at the end of the last episode. I haven't finished anything since, but I started another Tracie Cardie. So obviously I'm now at 10 projects on the needles. And my intention is to never go back up above 10 again. Technically, maybe I should have added the Knitting Bag of Tricks knit along to my WIP list, but I didn't. It is on my Ravelry at the project page, but I never added it to my notebook. I'll get back to it at some point, but I'm not going to count it at the WIP right now. I'm at 10. Let's talk a bit about my upcoming plans, knitting related, and then I'll show you my sewing. So by the next episode, which should be in 2 weeks, I intend to have that Wilfreda sweater finished and the yoke of the Blackbird Tracie Cardie finished so that I can take it to that fiber festival to try to match the black. And next weekend, I have a Jehovah's Witnesses convention coming up that's in a neighboring city 2 hours away. So it's a weekend away from home, so I need to choose projects to take. So I will pull out that second booble sock to finish. It'll go in my meeting bag and I can work on it while we're waiting for the talks to start in the morning and at lunch break there. And I'm thinking, since I am going to be rooming by myself, I'll have all the space in the hotel room to spread out and no cat to interrupt me. I'm going to take that papillion shawl with me. The one where I need 2 pages of the pattern laid out because I refer back and forth. I need 2 skeins of yarn on the side of me, and I'm constantly flipping the project because it's full of short rows. And anytime I try it at home, the cat is immediately there. So I think I will take it to work on the hotel room, in the hotel room down there. There is actually a couple of appointments coming up this week. I have an eye appointment and Ilana has a dentist appointment. So I will get some work on the booble sock this week. I am about 2 repeats away from needing to turn the heel. So maybe I'll get the heel turned before we go to the convention, and then I can just mindlessly knit on the foot out of my purse. Yeah, that's the upcoming projects. Now I want to show you my sewing that I've completed. But first, I don't know if you can tell, I've got my blocking mats out on the bed. I am blocking, I'll put a picture in for you. I'm blocking the dodgeball sit-a-pong bag that I finished knitting a year ago for my daughter. So I gotta block the pieces and then seam them up together. So I do hope to get that done this week as well. The next episode should be pretty full, if everything goes well. My sewing, as part of cleaning out my closet, I repaired a few things, and I especially want to show you this one. I bought this on our last trip to Hawaii, and I knew that I was going to have to make some alterations. This is a pantsuit from Target with a Kate Spade label. We had to check out early our last day of Kona. We hung around Kona and it was raining, so we spent time in Walmart and Target to kill time. And I didn't know Kate Spade had a collaboration, would you say, with Target. I've been to Kate Spade stores before and found the dresses fairly expensive. But at Target, they were like $45. And this is a pantsuit. And I probably can't really show you the full effect. It's just one shoulder. And I tried on 3 different sizes there. And the size smaller than this, I got on but couldn't zip up. And maybe if I had help, it could have got zipped up, but I wasn't going to have help at the convention, so wasn't going to take the chance that it wasn't going to fit. So I bought the next size up, and it was just a little loose across this area here. So what I did was I took the bow off, I cinched up the shoulder, and that pulled it up so that it was snugger. Then I hand sewed the bow back on, and then I hemmed. The legs were humongously long, so I hemmed them, so now they just come a bit past my ankles. They just grace against, they just grace against the top of my feet. So they should work well with a slight heel. I wouldn't wear a high heel. but a slight heel. So yeah, I'm quite happy with my work on that. I did notice as I was working on it that the fabric is kind of cheaply made. And I'm guessing it's not the same kind of fabric that the Kate Spade actual boutique store would have used. I don't know. I haven't examined the dresses too closely at the Kate Spade store. Not that I know anything about brand names and whatnot, whatever, but I'm quite happy with this outfit. And I wanted to show it off. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Click the like button so more people can see my podcast. Drop a note in the comments section. Let me know what's been bringing you joy this week. And happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy sewing, beading, painting, whatever craft you like to enjoy. Go find some joy. Go make some joy.